But this is a significant story coming in this morning. We spoke about it yesterday. There is genuine interest in Mason Mount for Manchester United. Well, that genuine interest has spiked massively this morning. A raft of UK outlets pushing this story that Ten Hag wants Mason Mount to Manchester United. He wants it done quickly and he wants it done for £55 million. And that has blown the bloody doors off on the start of this transfer window. Because I'm going to say right here that this is the Frankie de Jong of this summer. This is the story that's got the most credibility, the most weight behind it, and this is this transfer story that's starting the Man United summer transfer window. Whether we get him or not, I was told this yesterday, we spoke about it yesterday, and now it's coming through again. It's definite interest for Manchester United. It's definitely a player that Erik Ten Hag wants. Is it a player that you want at Manchester United? We're going to do a poll. We're going to get into the story. Mason Mount, it's a simple poll if you're in the chat. Mason Mount, yes or no? Get your comments in there. But look, this is the headline. This is the story that we're going to give you. It's coming in from so many different places this morning. But let me just give you a selection of a few. Man United are preparing a 55 million swoop for Mason Mount. He's one of Erik Ten Hag's primary targets heading into the transfer window, and he wants a deal wrapped up quickly. Sources have indicated that talks with Mason Mount's side will begin shortly. Manchester United see him at around £55 million, £30 million under Chelsea's valuation. Given Erik Ten Hag's interest in the player, there may be a chance to increase the valuation for Chelsea. Arsenal are also interested in Mason Mount. Meanwhile, Liverpool are actively pursuing a deal. Pochettino would like to keep him at Chelsea. Erik Ten Hag is encouraging the Man United hierarchy to make the first formal bid for Mason Mount, thus getting ahead of Liverpool and Arsenal. A Chelsea exit is looking more and more likely. So it's a stunning story this morning around Mason Mount to Manchester United, or Mason Mount genuine interest to Manchester United. 60% of you have said no, you wouldn't want him. 40% have said yes. My opinion on this, honestly, I get it. I actually understand why Ten Hag wants him, and I suppose I'll start on the positive. I think he wants him because it's very, very clear, whether we agree with it or not, that Erik Ten Hag thinks he wants one holding midfielder, one attacking box-to-box midfielder, and Bruno. And I think that's the way that he wants to play. Mason Mount, by the way, has got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know what Chelsea think they're doing trying to get £80 million for him. There ain't no way. I don't think he's worth more than 50 with a year left on his contract. It's English tax again. Only we would sign Mason Mount for 55 million. Teams like Liverpool would get him for 30 or 35 million to nab him. He's massively overpriced. He's had a bad season. He wants to leave. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He ain't worth 55 million. He isn't. But you know what it is about Mason Mount as well? James Cave, welcome to the Members Club. You know what the thing is about Mason Mount? You know why he's worth so much money? Or you know why people want him? I'll tell you why. He was a decent player before this season, and Chelsea have had a bad year anyway. He's only just 24. And he's English. So, you know, you get a player who's probably got another 6 years who can get better before they hit their prime. They're English, so it hits homegrown. It's pure English tax. And like, some people take that offensively, but it's pure English tax. He's homegrown, he's young, and yeah, that's why you overpay. You'll find Mason Mount 20 times across Europe for 40 million. Easily. You'll find 20 Mason Mounts around Europe for 40 million. But it's the homegrown thing. That's why Liverpool want him. That's why Arsenal want him. That's why Man United want him. He's a decent player. There's no doubt about that. The reason Erik Ten Hag wants him, though, is because look at Man United under Erik Ten Hag. Consistently, it's one holding midfielder, and then it's an attacking midfielder box to box, and an attacking midfielder as a 10. And it's Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. Consistently does that. So if you bring Mason Mount in, he can play the Bruno role, but he can play the Eriksen role, and he's got more legs than Eriksen has got. I think he comes into that team as a direct replacement for Christian Eriksen. I think that's what Ten Hag is looking at. Now, whether you like that or not, it's very obvious that that's the way that Ten Hag wants to play. He wants people who can get on the ball and be dynamic. Now, obviously, we have been a very defensive side this year, and I don't think we've seen the evidence or the plan that Erik Ten Hag wants to implement. I think he wants us to be a 70% possession team. I think he wants us to play higher up the line, higher up the pitch. I think he wants us to be in the final third a lot more. And therefore, you know, Casemiro as the defensive breaker on his own, with then Mason Mount and Bruno supplemented by wingers and an attacker, it works. The problem is, can Erik Ten Hag implement this to the Premier League? Because if he can't, we're going to get overrun in the midfield like we have done this season. I don't like Eriksen next to Casemiro away from home. I think our record away from home is abysmal because we get overrun in the midfield. Well, if we go to Anfield next season with Mason Mount, Bruno and Casemiro, just because Mason Mount's a little bit more mobile, I still think you get overrun. I think away from home, you need more bite in the midfield. You need a Casido. You know, you need a Declan Rice. But I think Mason Mount, I've seen a lot of people going, why Mount? Why Mount? We've got Bruno. We don't need another attacking midfielder. I think he's an Eriksen. I think he wants to play him in the midfield three with Bruno and Bruno and Casemiro. I don't mind Mason Mount, to be honest, but does he have the attitude and commitment to play for United, do you think, says Ray? I don't mind if we're actually stealing him from Liverpool and Arsenal. Things are going to heat up. Hopefully our owners will be sorted soon, says John. There's good reason Klopp, Arteta and Ten Hag want Mount, and Poch would sooner keep him. English or not, he's very decent, says SB. Philip says, welcome to the Members Club. And to compete with the best, we have to ask the question of would Man City sign Mount? And they wouldn't. Mount isn't good enough. Also, 55 million is a no, says Tom Blake. Welcome to Members Club. Philip, hi Mark. If you had to choose one, would you rather get Mount for 50 million or Rabiot for free? Jordan, I think I'd go Rabiot because Rabiot's more defensive minded. You know, we do need a more defensive-minded midfielder. Chelsea out here with bigger poker faces than Glazers. We all know they need to sell for financial fair play regulations. We can't get Mount. We can get Mount for way cheaper, says Naveen. Mark, I'm conflicted. Mount has proven himself as a good player and I'd take him over Rabiot, but there's many more players I'd take over both, says Elijah. I'm just going to have my say now. 61% of you wouldn't take Mason Mount, right? I never thought Mount was any good. 3 years ago, I thought he was overrated. And then for the last 2 years, I've been really impressed with him. And then the last year, I don't know where he's been. So there are concerns on a player that it's a bit like Tielemans. I'd rather have James Maddison, says Ramo. I'd rather have Mason Mount than Maddison, by the way. My concern with Mason Mount is his career has fell off a cliff at 24. I get that Chelsea have... You'll get people saying, well, all Chelsea players have been bad this year. But he's Chelsea through and through. Like... That's a bit like Man United having a bad season and Paul Scholes having a bad season. It's like, well, he's Man United through and through. He gets what Man United's all about. He shouldn't be having a bad season. So I'm really surprised by Mason Mount this season. Really, really surprised. Is he a bad egg, like someone said in the chat? Is he just overrated? Is it the Dele Alli effect? Is he going to fall off his career? Is his career going to fall off now? Mason Mount should not be leaving Chelsea. He's Chelsea through and through. He should be at Chelsea for life. Why is he leaving Chelsea? What is in him that makes him want to leave his boyhood club? That's got to be questioned. Like, are we getting a mercenary here? Is there a legitimate reason that he's been crap and unsettled at the club that he loves? It worries me when a player falls off for a year because it makes you think, well, in 2 or 3 years' time when he's not in our team, does he start throwing his toys out the pram and wanting to move from us as well? I like players that even when the going gets tough, they'll keep going. And I worry about that about Mason Mount. It doesn't make sense. On a positive, I do think he's a good player. And I do think if you can get him playing well, it'd be a major asset. It's just not the midfielder I want.